Hello.
Hello.
All right. So,
Bebop.
February 20th, 1986. I am an 8-year-old boy in Houston, Texas. My mother, who is pregnant, it's not quite time to have the baby yet, they say. But for the previous 9 months or so, I have been saying that this baby will be born on February 21st, my birthday, because I say so. And this was the beginning of my complex as a person, because there were so many naysayers. And the clock strikes midnight. I pat my mom's belly and I say, "Little baby, be born." And my parents are still looking at me like I'm insane. And that was debatable. But I knew that this baby was coming. I go to sleep in my clothes and wait. The first stirring I hear, I'm at the door with my suitcase. My parents are confused but panicked because a baby's about to be born. We went to the hospital. I wasn't allowed in the delivery. And I debated and contested this a lot, but I didn't win. I was only so articulate as an 8-year-old. So instead, I was in the waiting room, pacing back and forth, bothering the nurses, asking for an update. And then finally, I was walked over, and I could only see her through the window, but the nurse held up this chubby cheeked little baby, and I was in love. It was my here was my first collaborator, my first partner, my first dude, and here she is. And we're talking many years later about art and creativity, which makes my heart happy. And as of late, I have seen an explosion of creativity come from her. So we're here to talk about it. How are you, dude?
Awesome.
How'd you like that?
Damn, it's the best first story ever.
Well, we've had many years.
Every new person I meet, yeah. That story. Like, wait, let me tell you the story of my birth and how I was willed into existence.
I go easy.
And my husband stands back and he's like, here it goes. Here it goes.
I grew up with mom telling it so much that
Well, you had mom. I had you to be telling everyone.
I feel like well, it's amazing. It is amazing.
Well, I will say every time I say, yeah, I people ask you when at some point. No, they'll ask you when's your birthday. I'm like, yeah, birthday. So we're doing first. I actually shared my birthday with my older brother. We're 9 years apart. And they all double take like every time. I've never had anyone not react to it. Like, what? That's so strange. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it is. But
it was planned.
It had an influence, I think.
It was planned by one determined 8-year-old.
But it had an influence. You know, we were aberrant to begin with. And here we are with our aberrant creations. What have you been working on lately? I've seen the posts, but I guess I'd like to hear you talk about
it. Everything and anything. Yeah.
I guess in particular, I've been drawn to the fruit.
Oh, cool. That's cool to hear, because I don't really know how that one's being taken. So that's cool. So I'm starting a 3-part series. And I wanted to do Salvadoran fruits. And I don't know. Part of that is...
Because of Teal Max? So our uncle, when
Yeah.
had a few too many and told us that he was going to take us back to the Mayan lands and teach us about our culture. And he kept beating his chest. Whoops, I hit my mic. But he kept beating his chest and said, well, children, now I'm going to go. But it instilled culture in us.
I feel. Yeah, I think he hugged us all. Then we asked him, "Are you leaving already?" And he says, "No, I'm just gonna go get some food in the other room. I can go eat." Yeah.
But anyway, so that's where this cultural awakening came from, right?
I mean, probably in part, yeah. Well, I think more and more, like part of it. Like, do you want like full depth info about where this is all coming from?
Well, I'm curious because I think inevitably, it's one of the first times I've seen you dip into our cultural heritage. I think, like as far as developing a series,
specifically,
developing a series about it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think you could argue though that my color use and my style and stuff, I think is definitely culturally influenced, but this is maybe the first time I've ever taken it on as a topic.
It's the biggest cultural nod that you've made.
Yeah, for sure. I think at least part of it was just the world, and particularly in this country, discussion of race lately and identity and what that means, and having been in a lot of good discussions with different people about racial and ethnic identity, what that means, and how personal and unique that can be from person to person. Mm-hmm. And from all the serious issues that have been going on in the past few months, I mean, you've seen race relations and everything. I had a couple of people not of color reach out to me, and for the first time, I think really want to dig into a discussion about race and identity and what that meant to me. Like, they know some of my experiences, but also they didn't know, I guess.
Talk about that. What do you mean? Experiences.
I mean, for me, like, I'm not white passing, for example. So being very visibly not a white person, it's very different in the US than my white peers. I'm going to have different experiences. And I think for some of them, they didn't realize that, negative things have happened in my life because of the color of my skin or the way that I look. And I think they just came from such a place of love, maybe didn't really like connect with them, that that was an issue or ever had been an issue. But when things really started popping in the news, I think, and maybe it was just like the pressure of being in this little bubble, this quarantine bubble for everyone, I think more and more people wanted to have these discussions.
Well, that quarantine bubble was interesting. So it's interesting to hear that is kind of the fertile ground that brought that. I think it's great. I love the series, and
thank you.
I hope you definitely keep cultivating it. For me, it's been the Mayan gods, and even now, as I work on those and I make more, it's weird because it's I realize how much deeper those are than I originally even probably intended. They started out of kind of a curiosity, but then, especially as we
I think that's at least part of it. That is part of it. And when I posted about the first one, I mean, it's an Instagram post, so I don't want to go on forever. But at least part of it was from me talking about specifically being a US Latino. And I feel like you've definitely experienced this growing up too. But there's a little bit of something of being about a US Latino is, well, you don't really belong here and you don't really belong there. So maybe you're too brown for some people and you're not brown enough for other people because we didn't grow up in the motherlands, and our tie is not quite as strong as someone who grew up there maybe. And I've had people, kind of throw that back in your face. And I've had other people have a different reaction and embrace me And it's wildly different experiences all over, from even within our own community.
It's a very strange thing. You know, obviously when I was growing up.
And I think this is, again, before I lose that train of thought, that I wanted to connect on my artwork to show that connection that I feel like I still very strongly identify with our parents' original countries. And yeah, Salvador and Guatemalan. It's very much ingrained in how I dress and the food I cook and the things that I like. It's all there. I'd never, for whatever reason, made a direct topic about it in my art. And I think a part of it, at least, was that I think I've always painted a lot of feelings, and this is not necessarily like a lot of feelings. This is just my own ode to an immigrant that I've never gotten to know, but is ingrained in me in many aspects of my life, and you can't shake that. So I just want to celebrate it, I guess, on paper.
Well, I think the cultural climate
makes sense.
Cultural climate is added to that because it demonstrates the importance of history, and celebrating that is important. Bringing that into, like I say, the art dialogue, important. You know.
I started with the mamey fruit because that one makes me laugh. Because I know from Mom, I was talking to Mom about it, and I know that for her, the mamey fruit is a different species of fruit than what most other people in the U.S. would recognize as the mamey, because they know it from Cubans and Mexicans, and it's delicious, but it's a different fruit. Like, well, I don't want to celebrate that one. I'm going to celebrate the one that my mom recognized as the true mamey.
See, I think culturally we came from a strange place.
Yeah.
Because you experienced it too growing up, being called Mexican, and then
well, the joke's that you're baptized Mexican in Texas.
and then being asked what's the difference. For me, after a while, I just didn't answer the question. I was like, okay, I'm Mexican. But like culturally, we were already an aberration, I think. And so the art world and creativity seems like a natural fit. It's interesting to hear you talk about, I guess, perceptions as Latina. When I was very young, I mean, you guys knew me as happy, but I also had a chip on my shoulder, and that was from being a teenager and experiencing racism.
I don't know that I only knew you as happy. I think I could see that, though. I couldn't articulate it at that young of age.
Yeah.
But I definitely saw it, and just the small things you would tell me about your experiences, like in high school, about how you had your group of friends just sat very much apart from the very dominantly white schoolmates. I was like, well, that doesn't seem right. 9 years younger than you, though, so like I can't tell you, hey, that's not right, big brother.
On the flip side of that, I think as I went into the world post high school, because that's a different environment, it just became a different animal. I think because I've always been immersed in the arts, it probably protected me from things I otherwise would have experienced. You know, people like the artist. Yeah. People think, oh, you know, he's a good time, and I'm great, but it changes the experience.
I'd agree with that,
yeah.
I'd very much agree with that, because it was okay. Now I'm an outcast because I hang out with all the little art weirdos, and I go and
but I think
wanting to put together shows and things. Yeah,
I think that's very empowering about art, because there's a lot of memes that go around, but one of them talks about the artist being the most dangerous. And I don't know about dangerous, but But it just talked about the fluidity that we can subsist in all strata of society.
Yeah.
And I remember in my photography days, we were
You can find
working
a
on
home anywhere, yeah.
yeah, we were working on articles, and so we had this guy come in and consult, and then I was like, okay, so we were going to work on a string of them. So we went all over town. At the end of the night, we're eating tacos in Spring Branch in Houston, Texas. And he's like, that was amazing. We went from the super rich part of Houston to here.
Yeah.
And art gives us that passport. We can totally do that.
It definitely felt like I saw that more and more as I got older, and I got to be more of your peer and not just your little sister going
little
through
dude.
things. Yeah. It took me a while to catch up.
Well, to me, you were always my collaborator. I never...
Sure, but I don't think I could, again, articulate things that I saw and experienced and I saw happening to you in a way that would make make more sense than just little kids.
Yeah.
Nonsense. Yeah.
No,
So.
it wasn't somebody slipping on a banana peel anymore.
No. Yeah. It's a really good one.
Although it is sometimes. It's still hilarious.
Well, I have more plans for my fruit. I think I'm going to do a
Banana peel.
next. I'm not really feeling
Guatemalan slipping on a banana peel.
See, that's funny. Like,
by the way, if people are wondering, yeah, our father is Guatemalan and my mom is from El Salvador, which makes it very hard to explain where you're from.
What? I can't really say the Guatemala. That one's really hard for me to say. I say Guatemala every time. And people half the time think you're saying watermelon.
Well, it's what language I'm speaking. So
I know, but I can't do that one.
Guate. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the ones I can't switch off of. I can do El Salvador, and then we get.
Well, I've practiced.
Too hard.
I've tried to emulate newscasters for years. So.
No, I feel like the older I get, the more I probably sound like our parents right now. Like English is slipping away.
Yeah.
And getting replaced with all of their charming habits.
Dad's expletives.
There's a lot of puchica, yeah.
Our dad.
Can I say that on here?
has his own art of language. He strings together expletives in Spanish that Shakespeare would be envious of, and
they're beautiful.
It's good.
He's a linguistic master. Yeah.
That in itself was an inspiration growing up. Let's touch on inspiration.
Inspiration. Like first ever.
Of course, there was me.
I found there was you. No, but very seriously, yeah. I mean, again, you're 9 years older than me, so who did I look up to? My big brother. Like well, mom, dad, great, but I had my big brother.
That's where it really, truly started for me. Mom was very nurturing, but when you came along, we could do stuff because somebody was complicit. You man.
And I always had the sense of that. I feel from some of my more concrete memories is helping you make your art. And then eventually I was making my own. And you would equal parts encourage me and tease me at times.
Never.
Like, no, please. Please. You are not always that appreciative of some of my attempts.
Well, it's that whole thing when people, I'm very careful about who asks for an opinion, because oftentimes people aren't looking for an opinion, they're looking for validation, and there's nothing wrong with that, but they're two different things.
Yeah.
With you, since we were a team, I felt that you were looking for the truth, you know?
Oh, sure.
And so,
I don't think you don't grow by not getting feedback.
yeah. But I don't,
Oh.
I never, if I was mean, I didn't mean to be mean. I was just.
I'm gonna make you list. On this
Well,
night.
and then, but teasing you is another thing.
1998.
1998. Refresh my memory.
I'm sure there was. Yeah.
I'm trying to think back.
No, but that was definitely.
But then there was sometimes where
inspiration was seeing you work, and then, the first time I painted, which was kid paints, tempera paints, because that's what we had money for, and I didn't know what I was doing anyway, so I just needed something to learn with, and then getting oils for the first time and stuff, and that. So definitely, I never stopped being in love with oil paint, so I just kept going from there. And yeah, even though, again, I know you're right that I've never concretely celebrated our cultural upbringing in my artwork in such a direct way, I think it definitely influenced how I painted and stuff, color-wise particularly. And that is something that from a young age people always commented on, was that I didn't want a world of flesh tones. I wanted my people to be blue and green and yellow and purple. And I didn't want to just use one color. I want to use them all. And I still paint that way.
It's a commonality.
It's not satisfying to me. Yeah.
It's a commonality we have. I mean, I always say it looks like I saw a lot of piñatas when I was growing up. Yeah, no joke. Because we were always about loud colors, and I mean, just anything, food, anything. I remember as kids, we were drawn to the most colorful, vibrant thing. That even Pee Wee's Playhouse. Yeah. There's a reason we love that show, because it's exploding with color and insaneness, and that.
It's a visual texture, texture for your eyes. Does that make sense? I don't know.
Yeah. No, it is. It's visual candy.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting because I think it's startling to a lot of people, but they dig it. They just would never put it together that way.
I can paint flesh tones. I just don't want to.
I learned because I thought I
should. I've seen you do monochrome.
Yeah.
Which is fun.
Well, you know what that is? A friend of mine said, there's very few times where I pick somebody's brain or just ask them for general advice. I like doing my own thing. But Antonio Farfar. I totally said that. Totally butchered his name. I'm sorry, Antonio. I love your work. I need to get him on here. But he, one of the suggestions he gave was work monochrome, because he was watching me work and he's watching like the explosions of color. And he probably was filled with inertia. And he said, I want you to do something, work black and white for a stretch. It'll strengthen you. And he was right. So once in a while, I'll go back to that because it's a good exercise when you are just working in shades, contrast. And that was...
I never really painted monochrome, but I do go through routinely strong charcoal phases. And I just love practicing shadow work and things and fooling around with that. It is very different to have to try to make it look vibrant without my usual color palette, if that makes sense. So,
yeah. Nice.
Yeah. I think sum up inspiration. My big brother my upbringing. The Mayans. You know.
Here, here.
Thank you, Teal Max. Here, here.
What?
Yeah, just
that in general to me.
Everything.
I love the archaeology of it. And that's a lot of what my textures and work are about. Is that past that we didn't necessarily grow up with. You remember when I started to do work on the Mayans? That was us learning about it.
That was so much fun. Yeah.
And recreating creation accounts.
I'd like to take credit for some of that series.
No, yeah. Because you guys would leave me waiting for a ride, and all I had to do was read books. And one of them was about the Mayans, and that's where that started. But then you guys were always active in the photography that would go on.
I found you props like no other.
People were always, they would always question, why do you say...
something to look like a fresh heart. I was your girl.
But people would always say, like, why do you say us? I'm like, because other people are working on this. But yeah, so one, I guess it was a text. No, it was a phone call. I said, hey, dude, because I call my little sister dude. And I said,
it's a girl.
I said, hey, I need a cow heart. And she doesn't question it. She just hangs up and fires back.
I think you asked me for pig heart originally.
Yeah, I need a pig heart.
Pig heart, yeah.
And she just says, okay. I get a call back. She says, look, Fiesta has cow hearts. So I get in the car and I go, but it... So I went to the...
You want a heart? I'll find you a heart.
And then that was one of the photo shoots we were working on. But yeah, you guys were always totally a part of that. The gas mask series we did.
Yeah.
It's funny.
I physically suffered for that one.
It's funny to... I took... it was called Irrational Animals. And this was years after 9/11, but that whole thing, I think, haunted everyone. And to me, it was thinking about...
To me, I think it was the biggest thing that happened to us as a shared experience before COVID, which has far overtaken that. 9/11 was like the biggest event that we went through. Yeah.
We're circling back because that series was... I had a vision of putting this world together where people lived with gas masks. And so in one of those, The Struggle Within was the name of the piece. And we had our model bail on us. Thank you, Steve Flores. It's me and my sister. There's rain. There's rain coming. And I was like, you're going to have to take Steve's place. And so what the scene entailed was, I remember the 9/11 reports were, oh, duct tape your door, do all this stuff because in case of like nuclear attack. And this was a real part of the consciousness. And so I guess, we were far enough away from it that I could kind of have fun with it that was a dark way. But so part of the scenes where we were wrapping people in saran wrap or plastic wrap.
Like industrial.
Yeah.
Industrial.
And so we put dude in a chair outside these gloomy trees on Kelly Gale Amon's property.
Oh my God. Okay, so I remember several of the photographs. I think I blocked that one out of my mind. I wasn't even thinking of that one.
And so,
oh my gosh, yes.
So I wrapped this poor child. And then yeah, it starts to look like it's raining. So we take the images, bop, 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 bop. And
it starts sparking or something, doesn't it?
But that was such a big project, and you guys were a part of that.
Yeah.
I was about to quit, actually. I was about to quit art because they pulled my show, remember?
Yeah.
And I just felt like I'd done something wrong, but then I got a grant letter for $7,500, and I said, no one will ever tell me what to do again. But
I think I credit that particular series, though.
Yeah, there was a few times. Because, we put you through some rough spots. We laid you on bamboo. That was Passage to Hades, I think.
Really painful, guys.
The gas masks themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I was the only one that could fit one of the children's-sized ones. Yeah.
Uh-huh. The
I was
cooler
going to say, that particular series, though, I think was definitely one of those points in my life artistically where I think it really hit home for me, that you helped show me that we didn't have to make stuff based on what we could see with our eyes. You could make up entire worlds.
Well, that was our childhood.
If you could do that in a photograph, well, then hell, you could do that in paint. And up until then, I think, I had a more restrained look at what I could create. And now, like, you can't tell me what not to do.
Well, that's what this is.
That series was very dear to me because of that. On top of just the scope of that project or what it was for us as an artistic group, artistic family.
Team Fury.
That was definitely it was definitely a special point.
We have a fan page
in my development. Do we still have one?
Yeah, it's still up. You can still be a Team Fury fan. But God, it's funny thinking about this stuff because artistically I've done a lot since then. But I hadn't really reflected on how influential those were. So thank you. Thank you for suffering for those sets. Thank you for the input. Yeah. Very cool. So what else? What's in the future? What is little dude going to do next?
What am I doing next? Definitely continuing my fruits.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I think this will make you smile. I had gotten I'm doing some really big pieces. I don't want to say they're going to be record covers per se. Maybe they'll be inspired by that or whatever, but I'd like to do a little trio of those too. Not little, like bigger. I keep saying little, but some bigger pieces. And because I've always liked the series that you've got going with the music and your own take on, not replicating an album, right? Cover, but like an ode to a particular album cover. And I like that. So maybe my own take on a Sergio Santos.
Well, it's funny because the fellas that I hang out with here, we've had that discussion. So that's Teal Sons and Juan Zamora. And I think Juan was like hesitating. And I said, I didn't invent record covers, and really I'm ripping off something. So you're ripping off the
We're all ripping off something. It's fine. We're all inspired by each other, I feel. Like at some point you're going to come back around.
Because the thing is, you'll do it differently. And that's what makes it cool.
Yeah.
Now, if you're just biting somebody, then that sucks. But
if you're just trying to make a Roth go.
Just trying to do so that's funny. So the artist that is behind Dude, who we will try to get on here, because that's always quite the conversation.
He's fantastic. I'm so happy I was finally able to pay him for a piece of artwork.
So Jesse Alexander Cantu. I have so many stories about this man, but one of them is one
of my favorites, yeah.
I was in a gallery showing, and he wasn't showing it, he was seeing about showing. And so our social sensitivities are different. Jesse will just tell it like it is. I will tell it like it is, but there's decorum and protocol to that. But he looks at this guy's artwork. He looks at this guy's artwork, and I only heard the story because I got complaints. I would get complaints about Jesse. And he said to the guy, "Hey man, I like your Rothkos." To which the guy just blows up and he's like, "These are not Rothkos." And Jesse just sits there. And I could just see him. I wasn't there to see the mannerisms, but arms crossed. I was like, "Are you sure, man?" But yeah, a funny art friend.
That's not cool. That's not an interesting take.
The man's beautiful.
But yeah, I'd like to do something more musically inclined. So I think that'll be my next project after I get through Fruits and things.
Well, talk about pop art. How do you feel about it?
I love it. I actually own a few what I would consider more pop art from some Atlanta artists that I really dig. And there's one, maybe I can send you a photo of it. But it says art, and it looks like our mass transit sign, our bus sign, which is named Marta. So, he just took out the M and I would have to look up his exact name. I think it's JP. No, I need to look up his last name. But he works with, he does like metal pieces and will do, I think what I liked about it is like super industrial. So it reminds me of like Daddy, like body shop paint and stuff and a lot of glaze. So I really like this piece because it looks like our bus stop sign.
Yeah.
It just says art on it. And this man's a little kooky. He put his actual phone number at the time on it versus for information. And he put his cell phone. Like, did anyone call you? He's like, yeah, I've had a few phone calls. I don't know if he's still doing that, but he had that up. And then this guy's been around a long time.
That's funny. That reminds me of Killer Mike. You ever heard about his t-shirts?
He's around.
Yeah, his t-shirts where he had his phone number on them.
Yeah.
I forget. Yeah, it's just he put out these t-shirts and they have his phone number and you could call him. And I think I read something about people still call that number. That's
people
very cool.
I've run into him numerous times. I've never run into him in the time I lived here. It's a shame. Yeah, I don't think I would do any pop art. I don't know. It's not that I don't think it's I like other people's take on it, but it's not something that's ever come easily to me or that I've really done.
Never say
So maybe
never.
the music series. Yeah, maybe. That's what part of the reason I thought the music series might be fun would be to try that out a little more.
I think you remember when I did pop art, it used to be very tiny because I had been influenced by other voices in the art community in Houston that it was a no-no. But what happened is when I got relocated here to North Texas, I didn't know anyone here. I set up a little tent with my little boy strapped to me.
Yeah.
And I put up what I regularly did, and it wasn't stopping traffic. And I had a light bill. I had bills. So I said, let's stop traffic. And I started to do those big record covers where I would, like, the first one I probably did was Johnny.
Probably just Star Wars stuff, which is always fun.
Yeah. And
yeah.
But I started to make those big to get people to stop, and they would stop. And something weird happened. I started to enjoy the happiness that it brings people and how really it does a lot towards connecting people to art which
You
oftentimes
like
you
the
find
nostalgia that it like invokes?
the nostalgia,
I
but
feel like people,
also
yeah.
it's a language. It's a language.
Mm.
I know that. So now I have this opportunity to talk about art because I know who Boba Fett is.
Yeah.
But I think it's great because it does.
That's a weird chip on the shoulder in the art community.
It bridges a gap.
Like,
Well, I have stopped worrying about that. When you talk about community, you are your community. You are the people you roll with. And if this is what we say it is, it's what we say it is. And if somebody else disagrees, that's okay. They are allowed to. They can continue. But as far that's been cool being here because I was relocated. I had to rebuild my art friends.
I remember. Yeah.
But we kind of run as a pack here, and in doing that, we share ideologies. And what's cool now, especially we'll go back to being in quarantine, is I like the community here, but I'm finding that you can connect with other communities online. Like I'm doing the baseball show for the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. And so now I have all these.
Yeah, that was crazy. I thought that was really cool. You could do a show like long distance.
But now I have all these nerdy.
I'm a big fan of like bridging the gap. I'm a big fan of bridging the gap with online stuff. I mean, I've always had pen pals since I was about like 15, so I definitely saw the value. That was before that.
About it.
No, I had actual pen pals that lived miles and miles and miles away.
I know.
Not my wiener friends at school.
Well, no, that was Bobby.
But I always
San
saw
Francisco.
the value in that. I think
Yeah, but Bobby in San Francisco is what we call text tour.
I thought it was my high school boyfriend.
I started to call anyone that came around you text tour, but
see, it's lost all meaning. I don't know.
Language is irrelevant.
I don't know.
All right, dude. I get it.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I'm so happy to have this conversation. You will come back. There's no option.
I come back.
I will get better at this. I will get better at this format. We'll be in studio with like ridiculous equipment, helicopters.
Strobe lights.
It could happen, actually. So you shouldn't laugh too hard.
Yeah.
Strobe lights for sure.
Yeah.
But thank you for being my guest. Thank you for being my collaborator. I love you. And
I love you. Thanks for having me.
Keep making and keep creating. And always celebrate the Mayans.
That's what I do every day.
On that
make
note,
some beans right now.
We're signing out. Where can people see your work? We'll have the tag down there, but are you mainly Instagram?
Yes. Yeah. Right now, I'm mainly Instagram.
People can give you money, right?
People can give me money. I do take commissions.
You might give them a piece of artwork back. So that
I might give them.
But no, check her out.
Be cautious if you hire me and tell me do what I want, because don't know what I'm going to give you.
What's funny, I was freaking out about a commission, actually, because that's always a weird thing, because like when I go to the studio, I have no idea what's about to happen. But that's what keeps it fresh for me.
I feel like that sometimes. Yeah. Because since I typically start with just backgrounds too, sometimes I'm like, I'm just feeling these colors today, and I lay down and I don't quite know what that's going to be yet.
Yeah.
Like, I'll come back to it. I'll see what this feels like.
Well, it's like when we used to look at clouds and find the elephant in the clouds. That's what painting's like. And I think, it's weird. It's weird we have those commonalities. Probably because we were born on the same day 2 hours apart.
I did a painting of that for you. I thought, didn't you have that?
Yeah, the bear.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, the cosmic twins. Yeah.
There you go.
Oh.
All right, Doodle. We're out.
Signing off. Namaste.
Actually, I always do this one. I saw the RZA do this in a movie, and I loved it. Ghost dog. All right, we're gone. Bye.
I don't think I look as cool. Bye.